The part also of Europe Direct Curaçao. Okay, Europe Direct Curaçao, I'm the local manager here in Curaçao. And then we have also Sherman as the manager. We are located in the Netherlands. And we have also the part of the Europe Direct Youth Sounding Board, which we have representative sitting there in the back, Mr. Gio France as well. I'll introduce the word to Ms. Sherman, request for some words.
Okay, thank you, Stephen. Welcome, everyone. I'm Sherman Request, and I'm logging in now from Holland. I'm also the manager of Europe Direct, and together with Stephen, we manage Europe Direct Curaçao. So Europe Direct Curaçao is an information center about the EU and the priorities of the EU. And our main goal is to inform you about the priorities of the EU and topics that are relevant also for our islands. So I'm very happy to see you all there. I see some faces that I recognize, so it's nice to see some of you again, and I hope you will enjoy this webinar today, or the presentation. So let me introduce you to Ranford Paulina. He will talk about digital skills, as digital skills are very important for your study and also for your future career and future work. So he will delve deeper into the matter, and I wish you very good luck and have a nice time today. Okay, bye. Ranford, the floor is yours.
Yes, good afternoon, everybody. Hope you are doing well. Allow me to start sharing my screen. And we will like this. Yes. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Beautiful. Oh, welcome, everybody. Indeed, as Sherman already alluded to, today we're going to be covering some topics regarding digital skills. And what I would like to start with is a main message for you. So we're going to go through many topics, but if there's one thing I would like for you to leave with, it's just with this main message. And if you can remember and you can acquire more, that is always obviously better. So the message is that in this workshop, we will cover the digital skills required for studies and work. What's the most important thing is that it is not necessary to master all digital technologies and tools, but it is of added value to know how to use them and what they can be used for. Today, we will focus on a few digital skills to get you acquainted with these. So as I said, it's not the ambition today that you get the full plethora of the full scale of all digital skills, but that you get a selection of them and that you can start implementing them and know about it in either case. How will we do this? We'll do this by going through a number of topics that have been handpicked, and all the time we'll be making a link to the digital skills as identified by the European Commission. So in terms of who am I? Well, as it was mentioned, I'm Ranford Paulina. I was born and raised in Curaçao, and my background is in business information management and tax law in the Netherlands. And I'm also stationed, or I live in the Netherlands as well. But I definitely come to Curaçao quite often, so I haven't lost the connection to Curaçao. So what are we going to be talking about today? We're going to be talking about digital skills as identified by the European Commission. We're going to dive deeper into concrete digital skills, and we're going to divide those by some basic digital skills and some advanced digital skills. The first thing I would like for you to do is if you could go to mentimeter.com, and if you could fill in this code, because we will be using that throughout this workshop to answer questions and make it a little bit interactive. So please let me know if you're able to get to mentimeter.com and then fill in this code. Yes, have you been able to get to the page?
The code is 825411.
167. Let me double check.
It's not an object.
Yes, okay. I'm assuming that you've been able to do it, and if not, we'll check once we get there.
Yes, some are able to
That's-
because we don't have the Wi-Fi code for everybody, so we just have it for the example.
Okay, okay, no problem. Then
They will be.
okay, what we can always do is obviously the answers can be given together, so those doesn't have to be individual answers in the worst case scenario. But all right, with that being said, let us start with the digital skills as identified by the European Commission. These are 5 categories, so to speak. And for each category, I'm going to give some examples of what it means, and then we're going to dive into concrete examples. So information and data literacy, in this case, it's knowing which words to use in order to find what you need quickly. So for example, if you're searching online, if you're Googling something, understanding what you need to Google instead of typing full out sentences, that you would type specific keywords. Also checking if information found online is reliable. Obviously, we all know that everyone can post something online. So it's very important to have the capability, have the competency to fact check and double check if the information that we found can be trusted and is reliable. Moreover, understanding that different search engines may give different search results. Obviously, most of us use Google, but there are other search engines out there, such as Bing. And what's important to realize is that the search engine indeed tries to scour the whole internet to give you the search that you wanted, so the search input that you gave. But it's important to realize that different search engines may therefore give different results. Moreover, organizing content such as documents, images, and videos using folders or tagging them to find them back later. This is also a basic skill. So indeed, it is important that you're able to organize your documents, and albeit via this very simple My Documents, and making a nice folder structure that you can actually find your documents back later. Then we have communications and collaboration. That has to do on one side on knowing which communication tools and services to use, and when to use them for when it's appropriate to use specific ones in different circumstances. Understanding how to apply for a job using a digital platform, so being able to fill in a form, upload your CV and photo, that's also important to know how to do that. To that end, we're going to go to a specific example of that one. Editing shared online documents. This is also important. We're going to go to an example of that as well, where it's important that you realize and know that indeed you have tools such as, for example, Google Drive and Google Docs, where you can edit documents or work on documents simultaneously, and having version management being in control because you're working on the same document. Knowing how to behave online according to the situation as to, for example, formal or informal. That's the last one for communication collaboration. Then we have digital content creation. Here it's important knowing how to create and edit digital text files so that you know how to work with Microsoft Office, Word, also Google Docs, and how to produce multimedia presentations. It's also important to know that you can edit digital content that others have created. So for example, a Wikipedia page, or you can create something new by mixing different types of content. It's also important to know that you can differentiate between legal and illegal online content. I don't know if this is in your day, but back in the day, you used to have software such as, for example, LimeWire, where you would be able to download music illegally, albeit, to get the latest music. But it's important to realize that what is legal and what is illegal in terms of online content. Also, it's important to know that there are different programming languages, such as Python, Visual Basic, and Java, to provide instructions to computer. For this specific one, we're going to dive into that as well, as to what are the most used programming languages and what they are used for, to just give an idea of what is possible out there. Then we continue. We have safety. Here it's important that you can identify suspicious email messages that try to obtain your personal data. Perhaps you haven't encountered that yet that much in your studies or on a personal level, but once you start working, or if you're already working, you're going to notice that oftentimes there might be malicious, you will be getting emails with malicious intent, trying to infiltrate the organization, try to obtain personal data, or perhaps worse, company private data. It's also important to know that you can refuse access to your geographical location. Oftentimes nowadays you see with iPhone, and specifically with iPhone, then that apps have to specifically ask you if you want to share your location, and if you want to always do it, yes or no. Configuring settings of a firewall on the different devices, and lastly, reducing energy consumption of your devices by, for example, closing apps, turning off Wi-Fi. Last but not least, problem solving. The last digital skill, you have to be able to, when facing a technical problem, finding the solution on the internet. Especially, for example, if you dabble into coding, you will see that oftentimes you want to try to solve something. And if you just know how to Google that correctly, you'll always find the solution, because there is someone who actually had the same problem with you when it comes to perhaps something you want to code, a specific problem you want to solve. Selecting the right tool, device, or service to perform a given task, such as, for example, choosing a tool for professional video call. That's also important to have that ability. Knowing that digital technology can be used as a powerful tool to produce creative outputs, such as creating videos, infographic, and blogs. That's also important, and we'll dive into that as well later today. And lastly, using online learning tools to improve your digital skills, such as, for example, video tutorials or online courses. Nowadays, you have many of these, like Coursera, Udemy, Code Academy, and so on and so on. But these are the 5 ones that the European Commission has identified, and we're going to dive now into specific topics. So the first one is the concrete digital skills, and specifically topics for cybersecurity, and then phishing emails. How can you recognize this? For this, I would like to invite you to go to Mentimeter and fill in the first question, which is a multiple choice question, if it's correct, where you can indicate how you can recognize phishing emails. Let me go to I'm going to put the results. Oh, 1 second. Let's see. Can you see the question? Has it appeared on your phone? If not, what we can always do, oh, there we go. Okay. All right. I see that. Yeah, that should be approximately the audience. So indeed, the correct answer is all of the above. There are a few telltale signs where you can recognize that an email might not be legitimate. And these are indeed that an email address might not be official. So you might get an email address, but then the domain, say you work at the university, and that every domain is obviously your first name, last name at uoc.com or .cw. If someone sends an email with a different domain and telling you that it's for an official message or something important, you can already start seeing, okay, wait a second, it's not the same domain that we use. So I can start identifying that it might not be official. You might get misleading URL links, especially when you get fishy emails. It's very important not to click on the links. And what you see oftentimes is that there might be spelling and grammar mistakes. And that has to do with the fact that oftentimes these phishing emails are people from the exterior, so from foreign countries trying to infiltrate. And oftentimes, obviously, it's in English because it's a word language. So allow me to show you indeed. I'm going to go back to the presentation where indeed we can see 7 signs of phishing email. So you might see that the greeting is in general, because they're sending a bunch of those emails. So they're sending them in batch, and therefore it wouldn't be addressed to you as a person. That could be different. Obviously, technology keeps improving, so that could be different. But that is one telltale sign that would tell you, hey, wait a second. Email address is not official indeed. The URL might be misleading. And what do we mean with this? If you have a URL, oftentimes you can change the name of the URL to something more specific, because oftentimes URLs are, for example, www.uoc.cw, and then with a slash with a lot of stuff after it. So oftentimes you can rewrite that hyperlink. But if you hover on that, you can see where it would lead you to, and therefore giving you an indication that this might not be a legitimate mail. They might request for personal information over email. That's why oftentimes banks always tell you, we will never ask you for your PIN code or your personal privacy sensitive information through email or even through SMS or through phone. You might have buttons with hyperlinks to unfamiliar web pages, unsolicited attachments, and as I mentioned earlier, spelling and grammar mistakes. And you might think, okay, Ranford, great that you're telling me this, but I mean, it's obvious, right? I might recognize this. Well, you would be surprised that actually it has happened in the past that people were victims of this particular scam in terms of phishing emails. And one of the most known is a Pathé case, where the CFO was mailed by an external party posing as the CEO of Pathé and telling the CFO that, hey, we need to make a transaction because we want to buy a foreign entity, but I want you to do this in ultra secrecy because this is a confidential transaction, etc., etc. And there was a whole email traffic going back and forth between the scammer and this person. And all the while, it was a phishing email because what did he do? One of the telltale signs, they were sending emails from different domains, but they were also, in terms of your signature at the end, they were making mistakes there. So they were making not necessarily spelling and grammar mistakes, but there were some clear mistakes whereby the CFO could have known, wait a second, this is a little bit fishy. And it's important to realize that this can happen because this cost Pathé 21.9 million euros, if I'm not mistaken. So it was over a series of multiple transactions, but it can lead to very serious consequences. So that is in terms of related to the topic safety, phishing emails, where it's important, especially when you start working later on, that you are vigilant on this. Then we have online collaboration, and then specifically Google Docs. So we have that part of communication collaboration. And as I was mentioning, indeed, you can use Google Docs where you can work together on the same document and having the version control. To make this more concrete, I'm going to show you a few examples. I'm going to show you a few I would say that features, handy features that this Google Docs has in general. And obviously, if we were to work together, I would have been able to share this and then let specific people have access to this specific document so that we could work on it together. But there are a few things that Google Docs has introduced lately, which might be handy to know of. And the first one is that now you can have one page, having the full document being pageless. So that means normally if you're working with Word and Google Docs as well, we all know that if you transfer from Google Docs to Word, you might have that some things might not be on the same pages, or you might have page breaks that you introduced earlier that will not translate well. So it might be a little bit of a headache. So the pageless feature allows you to work without pages so that you can build your document as you would like to. And then after you're done, you can start working with page breaks if necessary. A few other tools that also are interesting to see is that you now have table templates. Previously, we all know you can go to insert, you go to table, and there you can create a table with the size that you would like. But nowadays you have some table templates, and these table templates can be handy because say you're working on a document together, say you're working on a project together for a course, or you're later on when you're working. You can have, for example, you can use this a specific table, and then you could say, okay, wait a second, we've been working on projects XYZ and with chapters 1 to 3, and I want some people to review it. You could put who has to review it, so I can put that in here. For example, Anton would need to review it, and here we can have the status if the review is in progress, or if it is in under review or approved. And you can give it some notes if you would like to. So you see that Google Docs does give you a little bit more flexibility with some templates that might be useful when working together. Another thing, let me see. We had a table. There's another thing you can also do, which is if I just use the add, I can use this to, for example, create easily drop downs where again I could have the review status or even the project status, and so on and so on. And also with this, I could tag someone if I would like to actually pick up something in this document. So there are many more things that Google Docs offers, but for now, this is just a few highlights that I wanted to give you. And the main takeaway is that because you're working in the same document, you know that you're always working on the latest version and everyone is working on the same version and we're working together on the same document. And I'm going to go back to our presentation. And we're going to continue with Microsoft Digital and then Microsoft Office. A few things that might be interesting for you. I'm going to just quickly glance over these functions, and with PowerPoint, I'll stay there a little bit longer, giving you more insights. So it's interesting to know, especially since you have to write scientific papers from time to time, that in Word, you can just use insert citation where it helps you to properly manage your citations and keep them in check so that you don't have to do that manually. So that is something that if you didn't know, it's good to check that out because that can really help you going forward in your projects. With Excel, we have a few, Excel is very extensive, but a few basic things that you definitely need to know in Excel is the basic if function, if then else, because oftentimes that can be used to manage your data or manipulate your data so that you can get automate some things in Excel. Excel also allows us to have pivot tables and charts, which allows us to get data from a set of data and reorganizing it in such a manner that is interesting for us. Last but not least, we have conditional formatting. Conditional formatting is interesting because conditional formatting comes with some specific templates already. So say, for example, you want to use Excel to check for your data if you have duplicates. You could just use conditional formatting and it would check for you if in a specific column you have duplicates. It can also check for you if values are higher or lower than a specific given value, and then give them a color for you. So conditional formatting is definitely something that is handy when it comes to Excel. With Outlook, with emails, it's interesting to know, and again, it's very basic, but you have obviously automatic replies, which oftentimes you can cater on who's the sender, who sends you an email, and what type of automatic reply you can get. So for example, if a colleague sends you a message, you can have an automatic reply for internal. And if a client sends you a message, you can have a reply specifically for outward messages. You have also delayed sending, whereby you could write an email, but then send it later on at the time that you would like to send it. And last but not least, OneNote also offers OneNotes can be compared with Notepad, where you can keep notes and you can password protect these. But then specifically for PowerPoint, there are a few things I would like to show you. And I'm going to do that by doing this. I'm going to use this specific presentation so that you can see it. So for example, if I'm making slides in PowerPoint, oftentimes it can give me a design suggestion. And if I don't get it, I can always go to Designer and it will tell me if it has design ideas or not. So in this way, it can make your presentation more intuitive and more a little bit easier to follow. So here it can give you a little bit of ideas on how you could present the same information, but then in a different manner. And here you could choose from and get inspiration how to structure your slides in PowerPoint. Another thing that you will see, and definitely if you go into consultancy, is alignment of your PowerPoint. So if you go to view specifically, you will see that you have three types of view. You have the ruler, you have the grid lines. The ruler gives you the width and the length. You have the grid lines and you have the guides. And what this helps you with is to understand that if, for example, I wanted this specific template of the specific item to be shown right in the right bottom corner, I would know that I would need to put it here. And if I want it specifically there, I could manage it and manipulate it so that it's exactly where I would like it to be. So this can definitely help you whenever you want to ensure that you create a consistent view for your PowerPoint slides going forward. There's also some things you could use to make it more interactive, such as pictograms and shapes and smart art. For example, you have the smart art where you can use to give your information, to give your story. And I specifically use this one. You might recognize it at the beginning, where in these few blocks, I put what is the information for the different type of digital skills as identified by the European Commission. Then we have that you can insert slides from other presentations. That's also interesting to know. If you go to new slides, sometimes you want to reuse slides from a different presentation. You could go to reuse slides, and then you will get the slides from other presentations that might be open at the moment. And then you can actually choose the content and then actually insert the slide, and then it allows you to check if you would like to use this slide as is, or if you would like the slide to conform to the formatting of this specific presentation. There's also the possibility to use Power BI visuals. If you've made a visual dashboard in Power BI, it would allow you to show that dashboard in PowerPoint, in your PowerPoint presentation, and also keep updating that real time. And then the last thing that I would like to show you is the animation, where I did use it here. Very simple. We start first with the, I asked you if you know how to recognize an email. And by simply putting here an animation, I say it has to appear, and I give it this number. So I can also give in which sequence some things have to appear on a specific slide. It can then appear, and obviously you can let it come in many ways. I'm sure that back in the day in elementary school, you might have had slideshows that would be flying in, fading out and whatnot. Obviously for a professional purpose, then perhaps use all of these type of animations, but it's good to know that you can delay what you're presenting on a specific slide. So that is it with regards to PowerPoint. Then I would like to show you another thing, which is Canva. Canva is a website which allows you to create documents rather easily, and you have multiple templates. The templates that I would like to show you today is, for example, your resume, right? So we know that later on when we want to apply for a job, that we need to have a strong resume. And it is sad to say, but obviously, not even sad, but it's just the way the human mind works. If something is presented well, you'll be able to get that information better and consume that information better. So you have Canva here, where you could make a free user account. And once you log in, or once you navigate to Canva, it shows you that it has many templates. So if I were to click on these templates, I would see that there are templates for me to make resumes, documents, videos, Instagram posts, Christmas, cards, and so on and so on. But let's say I want to use a resume template to actually make my resume a little bit more, resonate a little bit more. Here you have a few templates that you could choose from. So you might look at this and see what fits your style and your personality better. So let's say this is the one that you would like to use. You can simply click on it and you can start customizing it. And from here, you can start filling in your information. So in this case, let me skip this tour for now. In this case, you could change your information here. So let's say you're called Anton Pinos. You can write that there. You can write down your work experience, your education history. So what's your education background, any certifications you might have, etc. And once you're done, you can export this so that you can actually use this template and use this for your resume. Well, the added benefits of this is that you don't need to go into Word and try to manually try to come up with these templates. And obviously Word has improved a lot. And as we saw, Google Docs also has some templates. This This way, it allows you to have it, allows you to choose out of many, and specifically for this purpose of a resume, because in Word, you might see that there might be templates, but not necessarily for resumes. So canva.com, definitely something that you could check out later on if you would like to beef up perhaps your resume, or even if you would like to make posters. Let me continue then. Then we're going to continue with mind map. That's also an interesting tool. Mind map, what it allows you to is that allows you to brainstorm on an organic manner. Because you're started with the main topic in the middle, and then you branch out and try to visualize or visually segmentate all of the topics. It works better with the brain instead of just making just a list with the topics that you're discussing. So in terms of brainstorming, it really is a handy tool, and there are many websites that allow you to do this and for free, and as long as you don't use it intensively. Some of the websites are LucidSpark, you have Mural, you have Miro, and I'll show you LucidSpark real quick so that you can get an idea how that would look like. So for example, you could start here again with a template. Mind map, LucidSpark has many templates, and in this case, I chose the mind map, and it allows me to collaborate with others, and that means that in real time, I can do work on brainstorming while not being in the same room, perhaps. So here I could write the main idea. Let's say we want to go on a vacation, and we were thinking of, okay, what countries are possibilities? So we could say Aruba, we could say US, we could say Puerto Rico, and so on and so on. And from there on, you could keep going more into depth with your mind map model, where you could say, okay, once I'm on Aruba, what are things that I could see there? What are the attractions that I could see there? So as you can see with the mind map, it allows you to start with the one basic main idea, and there you can branch out and work it out and structure your thoughts and ideas better. And as I was mentioning, indeed, an example of that is indeed if I want to go on vacation, and for example, you see, okay, I want to go to Denmark, Germany, UK, or France, and what are the things I could do there? So up until so far, we've discussed the basic skills. Are there any questions? I'm assuming not. The mic is on mute if someone is saying something, but.
Stephen, are you there? Rentford, there is
Yes,
question.
I'm here. There were no questions up to now.
No
No.
questions.
Okay, there is a question in the chat.
Oh, in the chat. Let me check that.
For the mind map. And Rentford, can you show about the mind map how you add a new, how do you say that, a new balloon?
Yeah, so for that you could just do a simple copy and paste, and then link it. 1 second, and then link it indeed with each other. You could, yeah, basically that is it.
So once again, can you do it once again? I didn't see it quite
Yeah,
well.
so one of the ways you could do it is by simply copy and pasting the specific balloon that you would like to use. So in this case, I would copy this one and then paste it. So I could do it with a Control-V, and there I would have a new balloon. Was that a question in the chat, actually?
Just one question.
Can we see the slide again with the mind map tools, the 3 names? I just had one of them.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's good to realize that these tools are not specifically only for mind map, but it can be used with, these are collaboration tools. So what you have, for example, with Mural and Miro as well, and Lucid Spark undoubtedly, is that say you are you're having a meeting and you're discussing many things. So say someone has to give their input and you're doing an online meeting. It allows you to have sticky notes, but albeit digital sticky notes that you can put, that you can use in a specific template of Mural, and therefore allowing everyone to give their specific input. So mind map is one of the applications for these tools, but these tools in general are for online collaboration. So I would invite you to indeed explore them and see how they can be of added value for you in your studies and work. I can say that I do use them in my work. So for Mural, I've definitely used it before for online collaboration.
But Renfred, I can also imagine that you use mind map when you're studying. Is there, let me ask the question to the participants. Do you have at school assignments where you have to use or make a mind map? Can anyone, because I cannot hear you.
Yes. I saw some, you use it, yes, no? Yes? See? Not. Okay, she uses it for herself, not really for an assignment.
For assignments, and do you
Yes.
use like a Lucid Park, or do you use it with Word? Because you can use Word maybe with Paint, but it's really difficult and it's not that
User-friendly.
doesn't look that nice. So how do you use one of these tools already, or how do you make your mind map now for if you have an assignment?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just write, for me, I'm a little bit old school. For me, it's writing helps more for my ideas to explore, and I'll really be on that.
Okay.
So
go
if I
ahead.
have to brainstorm on my map, I have some different color pencils, and then I will do that.
Okay, old school style. Good. You had a point.
We had it for, well, not these specific websites, but we have my view with one course.
Mind view?
Yeah.
Okay, mind view. Any other? No?
So maybe one of these are a good idea to explore and see how they work. Okay.
Yes. All right. If there are no further questions, we will continue, and we'll go to a selection of a little bit more of advanced skills. The first one is UX and UI. UX stands for user experience, and UI stands for user interface. Why is this important? Let me first explain what's the difference and how it is used. In daily life, we have that we use many applications on our phones or laptops, or we buy products perhaps on Amazon, or we are constantly in touch with many corporations, with many companies which are trying to give us a full user experience, allow for us to buy something or to get a service from them. But in order to do that, in order to make that a little bit better for us and increasing the user friendliness in terms of user experience and user interface, there is a discipline. There are these two disciplines called UX and UI. UX is its application can be for physical and digital products, and for UI, it's digital products only. Where in UX, the full experience is the focus from the user's first contact to the last. With UI, it's specifically visual touch points that allow users to interact with the product. And a UXer will create structural design solution for pain points that user encounters anywhere along their journey with the product. And whereby UI focuses more on combinations of typography, color palettes, buttons, animations, and imagery. And lastly, UX results in products that delights the users with their effectiveness, and UI results in products that are a delight for the users aesthetically. Explaining it like this might not make it fully for you to be able to grasp it, but I'm going to give some examples so that you can see what is the difference. So let's start with some examples of user experience, and first in physical examples. So the first one to the left, we can already see that for a user experience, it's a little bit weird that the door says pull, but it has no handle, right? So as a user of this door and actually going into this building, for example, to buy a product or buy a service, it starts already with a little bit of a noise because you cannot enter. You get contradictory indication of how to use the door. Another one is this elevator panel here with all of the floors. Here we can see that it's not arranged in a particular nice order or logical order. Therefore, if you want to go to, let's say, floor 33, would someone be able to find the floor 33 in one glance? I myself are looking now and I can see, oh, there it is, just below the 37. So it is, in terms of user experience, it is not a pleasant experience because it creates some frustration when you want to go to a specific floor. But these are physical examples. You have this also in the digital domain. And one of these is, for example, a drop-down. Oftentimes when we're working in where we have websites where we might be filling in forms or whatnot, if a drop-down is more than 10 options, then it becomes difficult for us. Because, for example, if we have a drop-down of all countries, then I would need to think, okay, wait a second, it's Netherlands. Okay, then I need to go to N. Curacao, okay, C, but do they have Netherlands Antilles? Because some of them do. Oh, yeah, okay. So you can already start understand that you oftentimes have to scroll, go through workarounds to be able to get to your specific country. A nice, elegant solution from a UX perspective in this example would be that whenever you have more than 10 options, you wouldn't have a drop-down anymore, and it would be an autocomplete. So you would start filling in, for example, Curacao, C-U-R, and then it would autocomplete it for you, telling you, oh, you're looking for Curacao when you're giving the option, when you're indicating where you were born or where you live. And this can make it more user-friendly in terms of your experience with this website. And this one, I think there's a high chance that you might have encountered this earlier. The scenario is as follows. You want to take a picture in the moment. You want to videotape something in the moment, but then just as you're about to do it, iPhone tells you, oh, wait a second, cannot take the photo because you don't have enough available storage. This obviously creates some frustration because first of all, you're losing the moment. And secondly, it's not giving you clear indication as to what to do next. It's just telling you you do not have enough space and you can either be done with it. So what does that even mean? And I can go to settings, but what does this have to do with settings? Because it's my memory that is full, right? So would I need to delete something? What is expected from me here exactly? So this is an example where for UX purposes, it creates a frustration, and that is not something you want to give the customer. Then we're going to go to specific examples for user interface. The first example is these ones to the right. Could you go to mentimeter.com again and fill in the second question, answering what is wrong or what is the problem here with the left option as compared to the right option when we're talking about UI, user interface? So you can go to mentimeter.com again. Check. Open. So from your perspective, what was not fully user-friendly when it comes to these two pages? I'll put it on the screen again so that you can see it. The left one has some deficiencies as compared to the right one. Levels to light and small fonts, drop down, small text, hotel websites. All right. And due to time constraints, I'll leave it at this, but it's very interesting immediately to see that even though we are looking at the same information, we see different things that might be not as well presented or aesthetically as you would like to. And that's inherent, and it's inherent with user interface, because at the end of the day, taste is a little bit subjective, but there are some things that we can definitely point out. And specifically in this case, it's pointless inconsistency in the UI elements. As you can see, here we have a specific font with a specific, how do you say this, a specific size. You have a different color here. You have then a different font here again with gray, a gray which is a little bit more lighter than this one. And then we have blue all of a sudden. So there are many different things happening on the screen, but they're not actually trying to convey a message. So in that sense, you have pointless inconsistency in the UI elements here compared from left to right. For the second one, you have that there's little distinction between primary and secondary buttons. So the primary button that you would like to have when you're trying to log in is actually log in, right? So if I'm trying to log in, what I'm trying to do is I fill in my email, my user name, fill in my password, and the next logical thing that I would select most often would be logging in. So therefore, I need to make the option of logging in put it at the forefront for the user to be able to see that. When signing up, that does happen from time to time with the first time, but you need to understand that it's a different option, and especially as compared to forgetting password. So that's why here the right one is a little bit better, because by giving a different fonts or different looks, it already tells you that these are different functions for different purposes. Then we have this one, whereby the lack of text hierarchy. So for example, you say, hi, this person, welcome home. But then you see that what's more important that in this specific example is that, hey, you want to greet the user and just indeed, in this case, say welcome home. But again, this might be a little bit subjective. It depends how you want to see it. But in general, the text hierarchy is important to be able to distinguish, because in this case, what's important for me to know, what's more important, that there's this guy Moombahton that he has 26 songs, or that so that this picture relates to Moombahton that he has 26 songs, or that this picture relates to Moombahton. And by the way, he has 26 songs, which equates to 13.1, I believe, weeks. No, that wouldn't be weeks, but a certain length of how long his songs, if you would listen to all of his songs. Last but not least, this one might be one of the most frustrating ones, where you might log in and you have a password error. Imagine if you would try to log in and you would simply get an error instead of telling you your password is incorrect. So here it is confusing for me. It's not telling you exactly what is wrong with your input. Okay, then I'm going to go a little bit quickly to the type of programming languages that you have. Obviously, there are way more than I'm showing here, but these are the ones that are most used basically. The first one is JavaScript, and this is used for web development, game development, mobile apps, and building web services. And it is used to manage the behavior of web pages. So it allows you to have animated graphics, interactive maps, etc., etc. Oftentimes, JavaScript is used for websites in combination with HTML and CSS. What are those two? I'm going to come back to that in a few moments. We have then Python, which is the second most used language worldwide. And Python is a general purpose language, programming language. So it empowers you to do several different types of programming. And it is used for data science. It's used for back-end development. It's used for app development. Python in general is just a great programming language. And it has multiple libraries and which allows you to make it easier to use. And libraries in this case, are specific pieces of code that someone else wrote, which allows you to use them in your code. So let's say, for example, I would like to know what to determine what day it is. I could import a library with a specific code that someone wrote, which tells me what day it is, so that I don't need to go in my code and try to code as to what day it is exactly. HTML, which I was saying earlier, hyper stands for hypermarket text markup language. And HTML is oftentimes used indeed for websites, and it's nothing else than allowing you to have your headers, your paragraphs, and different type of headers in your website. It's the very basic where you start your website with. Oftentimes, if you're on a website and you click on F12, you're going to see this picture. You're going to see these type of signs, the open bracket and then closing the bracket with a slash. That's typically something from HTML. Then we have CSS. CSS is cascading style sheets, and this allows you to organize your site text into chunks. So for example, if it allows me to determine size and colors of websites, and if I say on this page, on the main page, on the landing page, I want this color for all the pages that comes afterwards, you only have to program it once in the main page, and it will cascade throughout your whole web application. Then we have Java. Java is a general use and object-oriented programming language. It is used a lot, especially when it comes to desktop applications as well. And it is used a lot in e-commerce and finance. Last but not least, we have SQL or SQL, depending on who you ask. And this is a query language which allows you to, whenever you have a database, so you have a set of data that is structured, it allows you to get information out of that structured database. Then I'm going to continue with some more advanced skills, digital marketing. It's important to realize.
Sorry that I interrupt you. How many minutes do you still need?
I think in 5 minutes we can wrap it up.
5 minutes? Okay.
Yes, indeed. So important to realize is that whenever you search something on Google, you might get two types of results, right? You might get a result which clearly says advertency or advertisement, and the other one SEO. The difference is that with search engine advertising, what it does is companies pay to be the first option if you search, for example, for consultancy in Curacao. And SEO is the art or the ability for you to incorporate keywords that people might use whenever they're looking for a specific services, for a specific service. So back when I was a student, I used to, I was on the board of a student consultancy. And if you would type in student consulting Rotterdam, we would not be the first one at the top. So what did we do? We ensured that on our website, we had all of the keywords that someone would look for whenever they're looking for student consultancy, specifically in Rotterdam. That's an example of SEO. Social media marketing, where social media marketing allows you to have more targeted marketing. So for example, a billboard alongside the highway might be for everyone that drives past, but with social media, with this, for example, Instagram, whenever you want to run an ad, it will allow you to specifically say what type of, for example, users you want to target, where they should be based, what is the demographic. So therefore allowing you to put your marketing dollars or your marketing guilders to a more specific use than, for example, a billboard or even a radio spot or a TV spot. We're going to skip the Mentimeter for now, because I wanted to ask you, how do you use Instagram if you use it for entertainment purposes or for business purposes? But we're going to skip that for now. The last thing I wanted to cover was the data analytics. I'm not going to go through all the steps, but what's important to know is that whenever you're doing a data analytics project, it's important that you first start with understanding the business and defining your goal. Then you need to get the data. So where do we get the data? Is it, for example, data that I could get from my company itself? Is it something that I could get from websites, such as, for example, Kaggle? And then you need to clean the data, because oftentimes the data is in such a manner that you cannot use it right away. This oftentimes takes 80% of your time. Then you can enrich it with modifications. And then you can find insights and visualize it by using tools such as Tableau, Power BI, and Qlik to visualize what it is exactly, to visualize the insight. Deploy machine learning and iterate, I'm going to leave it for now as is, given the time. But I want to do a quick recap of what it is that we discussed today. Our main message, our main goal today was to cover digital skills required for your study and work. As I said, it's not necessary to master all digital technologies and tools, but it is of added value to know how to use them and where they can be used for. How did we do this? We covered the digital skills as identified by the European Commission. So we had information and data literacy, communication, collaboration, digital content creation, safety, and problem solving. And in terms of concrete skills, we talked about phishing emails, something you'll definitely encounter when you start working, and perhaps you might have encountered it earlier. Online collaboration, for example, through Google Docs, Microsoft Office in terms of the possibilities that you have with Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Canva, allowing you to make nice resumes and mind maps whenever you have to do that for an assignment or you're trying to structure your thoughts. In terms of advanced digital skills, we have discussed the UX and UI, user experience and user interface, to understand how we can make the process, how we can make the interaction with the customer, make it more pleasant and more user-friendly for them. We discussed as well what are the programming languages that we have, a selection of those, and what they can be used for. And we discussed as well digital and social media marketing, where you understand that digital marketing, especially on Google, there's a difference between SEO and SEA, and social media marketing, for example, through Instagram. And data analysis, we had a quick word about that. So that is it from my end. Hopefully you've learned something, if there's something you can take away. And if there's no questions, I would like to thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you, Ranford, for your presentation. I think we have time that you can see if anyone has one question, maybe.
Are there any questions? No? Yes.
Qualitative research. Do you have recommendation for which software I can use to analyze my data.
Sorry, what was the question?
I'm doing a qualitative research. Is there a software that you can recommend to analyze my data?
Qualitative, what type of data? So you have qualitative research, but what type of data do you have? Is it specifically interviews or
Yes,
in-depth?
I'm gonna be conducting interviews.
Mm,
Maybe Atlas DE. I used Atlas DE for my research for interviews. So do you know that Atlas DE? So you have when you have the interviews, they record it and then you can transcribe them and you can upload the transcribed text into the software program Atlas DE, and then you can code them, give them a code, and then you can analyze it. So maybe you can Google Atlas DE. I'm going to put it in the message. I don't know if you can see it, Atlas DE. I don't know if someone can, or maybe Ranford, you can Google it and
Atlas.
Atlas. Yes, there it is. But I don't know if it's free because I used it. Oh, you can try it for free.
if it might work indeed.
Okay, but that's something that you can look into it.
Thank you.
Okay, then because we are a little bit late with the time, I would like to proceed. I would like to thank Ranford once again for his presentation. It was a lot of information in a short time, but I think it was very productive for the participants that we have an overview of the possibilities and what digital skills entails. I know that for the participants in Curaçao that they can take something to drink, I think, Stephen, is that right? Or something to eat, and then we can start, maybe we can start with the next presentation by Noelle, because otherwise she is in tight note.
Just take your time, have a drink.
Yes.
Yes.
Stephen?
Yes, you're ready.
Hebben ze allemaal wat, is er wat te drinken of te eten? Of kunnen ze, we kunnen doorgaan?
Eten en drinken, maar ze kunnen doorgaan.
Ah,
Ja?
okay.
I would like to thank you for your
Thank
time.
you, Ranford. Bye-bye.
I have to leave, but have a nice day. Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay, I would like to introduce Noelle to you. Noelle is, she's going to give a presentation about personal branding and more in detail about using LinkedIn, how you can use LinkedIn to brand your personal being you and what you should do and what you shouldn't do. So also the LinkedIn etiquette. And I'm very curious about how you are going to experience the presentation, because if it's, she can only provide some basics elements, because we only have 1 hour. But if you are really interested, then we can proceed next year with an advanced course about LinkedIn. But for today, it's a basic workshop about LinkedIn. Noelle, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you all for this opportunity to tell my LinkedIn experiences with you and to share some tips and tricks. My name is Noelle. I live in the Netherlands. Originally, I am from Morocco. So currently, I'm watching the World Cup, and I can watch for 2 countries, Morocco and the Netherlands. And Morocco has never came so far, so I'm very proud. Something more personal about myself. I like food, I like to travel and to meet new people, and also to teach. So a lot of my volunteering work is to teach students some skills and also how to get to know their potential employer. Currently in my professional life, I work for a consulting firm, and I am responsible also for a data team, so BI. So I'm always using also LinkedIn to search for students or also for other potential employees who has a great knowledge of data or BI want to work for the company I work for. So a few years ago, when I was also a student, I didn't use LinkedIn at all, and I didn't even know what LinkedIn was, because I am not so social media minded, because I really like my privacy. So I'm not the one to put a lot of pictures online. But when I was at university, I joined a student association, and in that student association, I was organizing some events so that potential employers could meet students. And when I was introducing myself, they want to search about me to know who I am, and they could not find anything about me on the internet. So it was strange for them. And then I learned about the board members of the student association. That's very important to have LinkedIn so that you can introduce yourself in a professional way. And that was the moment that I first learned about LinkedIn and made a profile. Because in my experiences, it has a lot of advantages to use LinkedIn. First of all, to look for companies that you might like, to follow them. Second, you can also follow your students and your teachers and the companies that you like. And later on, if you have work experiences, you can also share your work experiences, and potential employers are sending you messages like, oh, you have an interesting profile. Do you want to work for us? So actually, you don't even need to search by themselves. They come to you if you have a great LinkedIn profile. So I want to share you my LinkedIn profile so that you know how LinkedIn looks like and what for information you can put on LinkedIn. So you all see my LinkedIn account. When you click on my name, you see that I work for this consulting firm, Van Belkom Professionals. You see that I'm a director and that I'm a senior data consultant. So I know everything about Power BI, Excel, big data, and stuff like that. I put my description in Dutch. That is because I work for the Dutch government. And then it's more easily, they can find you more easily when your profile is in Dutch. But otherwise, I recommend that you put your profile in English. Then you can put some summary, a story about yourself, who you are, what your expertises are, like business intelligence, Power BI, process mining, stuff like that. And how people can contact you by your email address and your phone number, so that potential employers can really easily find you. Then some posts that you shared on LinkedIn, like I made a podcast. I did some interviews with consultancy.nl, and then you see some articles that I wrote. I shared my experiences, so you can share all your experiences. Like I work more than 5 years now for this consulting firm. But in this consulting firm, I did several tasks, and I worked for several organizations in those 5 years. So I put all the organizations I work for, and I always include all the skills that I learned by that organizations. So that's very important, so that potential employers can know what your skills are and what you like. Then my education. So you all see that I studied also in France and in Finland and in the Netherlands. So I did like a master in management of IT and a bachelor of business administration. Furthermore, you see like all the licenses and certifications I received in the last few years, and some volunteering work that I do or did. Like currently, I'm a member of the Hague University of Applied Sciences, and as one of the companies, I gave like advice about what I think that's very important to teach in the study of data science and artificial intelligence. So I give my opinion about that, what they need to have in their curriculum. And when I was a student, I did I joined several study associations. For example, to teach students how they can connect with their potential employers, and also international students who came to the Netherlands to show them the Netherlands and to get familiarized with other students in the Netherlands, and so that they could also ask me questions. And I organized several nice events for them. And then you see also all the skills that I have in the last few years. And in the skills, you also see like in which companies I got those skills. And also some recommendations, like people that worked with me tell about me how they experienced working with me. And I always recommend people that if they worked with someone, just asking the person, could you write something about me, about how you think that I work with you? Or you can ask your employer to tell something about how they think that you work, or a customer. These are some publications that I wrote in the last few years, and the languages that I speak. So I speak also Berbers, and that is like the same as Papiamento, but then a Moroccan language, one of the Moroccan languages, English, French, and Dutch. And the things I like children, and I like to work for education purposes and to do volunteering work for that. So this is how my LinkedIn profile looks like. But now actually I'm very curious about you, if you have a LinkedIn account. So I will send you like a LinkedIn QR code, and I would ask you to screen that LinkedIn code. Could you scan this QR code to go to the Mentimeter? You can do it by your phone. Did you see the questions in Mentimeter?
once it can connect, did you see the questions?
Yes.
Okay.
It's okay. So one person has Facebook in the group. Two.
Let me do it physically.
Not
many
everyone is
people-
digital.
Have Facebook. Okay, so it's like
So a lot of
almost
people, almost everyone.
majority. Okay,
Okay.
you're connecting.
Okay, now to the next question. %. And do you have a LinkedIn account?
Okay, can you show of hands who has a LinkedIn account again? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13.
Okay,
That's a LinkedIn account.
yes. And the last question. Which of the following is most true? So it's totally right. You have all the questions right. So Facebook is indeed for personal life, to share like personal content, and LinkedIn is more for professional life and to tell everything that you're in a professional way proud of. And you cannot share anything private on LinkedIn of private life. That's not done. I will now share some LinkedIn profiles, like 5. We will discuss them together, and I will ask you to take notes at each profile that I discuss. But after that, we will again go to Mentimeter, and we will see like which profile you think is the best profile and why. Okay? You will look some persons up. First of all, we will check Alexander Soeters. So now you are all me. I'm looking for a data professional, someone who's very good in Power BI to offer a job opportunity. Which profile of the 5 I will discuss do you think I will choose? in this person, Alexander Soeters, we see that he is a Power BI and Excel specialist. We see a picture about him, and we see some background image that with some tools like Excel, Power BI, and so on. We see that he studied at London School of Economics. In his summary, he tell me how I can contact him. We see his email address and his phone number, mobile phone. We can also download his CV if we want. And we see that he's good in Excel and Power BI, and that he worked for several companies. And that he worked with SAP, ClickView, Azure, Oracle, that he has experience of Excel, Power BI, and other automation tools, that he's good in English and Dutch, and that he worked in the EU and the UK, and his educational background, that he has a master's degrees in accounting, and in business administration. Furthermore, we see his work experiences. So we see that he worked for Mercedes, for Bol.com, for Microsoft, Action, Gold Republic, and many more experiences. So he works already a few years, a couple of years. And actually we see a lot of information. We see also all the task responsibilities that he had at each company. And we also see where he studied in Rotterdam, in the Netherlands, and at London School of Economics. So has an economic background, accounting background. And we see that he has several licenses in business intelligence and Excel, and that he has some programming skills in DAX. DAX is a programming language that he uses in Power BI. And we see that he has a lot of skills, and that he's endorsed by some colleagues. So some colleagues tell that he's good at that skill. And he has some recommendations. So people who recommend Alexander. And we see that he likes to educate. So that's the first profile, Alexander Soeters. Then we go to the next profile.
Noel, sorry to interrupt you. I know that the participants, not all participants have access to Wi-Fi, so maybe Mentimeter is not working properly for this this session. Maybe it's a good idea to just ask the participants to raise their hands
Yes,
or
I
to
will do
stand
that.
up for some of those
Yes.
for the session. Yes.
Great suggestion. So I will finish the discussion of the profiles, and then I will ask to raise just the hands of which profile is the best. Then we see the profile of Ismail Kaya. We also see an image, nice background image, and that he has like BI skills, Excel, Power BI, big data, Power Pivot, and so on. We see a little bit of summary about his personal life, but we don't see any contact details. So we don't see a phone number or email address to contact him. And we see that he worked already a couple of years, and that he has a lot of work experiences. So he has a lot of skills like SQL, Power BI, Excel, communication skills, and so on. And that he worked for several organizations. And we see that he studied at the Hague University of Applied Sciences, that he has some license and certifications in visualizations and R and so on, programming skills, that he has skills and endorsements, a lot of recommendations, like 1, 2, 3, and 4 more. So actually 7 recommendations. And we see the languages that he speaks. That is the second profile. Then we see like Roger Koster. When we look at his profile, we don't see a picture. We don't see a background image. We see that he's a Power BI specialist. And in his summary, we see that he has that he worked for several companies and that he has a master accountancy. And in his work experiences, we see some information and that he studied accountancy and that he has one license and a few skills, like 8, and that he has no recommendations. Roland Pell, we see a picture of him, but no background image. We see that in his summary that he knows a lot about different tools, but I don't see any contact details and nothing about what his interest is, what he likes, and so on. I see some work experiences, but not explanations in what he did in that work experiences. I see that he studied at the Hague University, that he had some skills, and that's it. And the last one is this person, Koen Knobbe. We see a picture of him, a nice background image, and that he is a Power BI specialist. He doesn't have any summary, so I don't know how to contact him. He didn't write anything about himself, but I see some work experiences. And that he studied at the university and he had some great grades because he still at cum laude. And I see some licenses and certifications that he received and some skills. And that he did also finish some courses. I would like to ask you, which profile do you think is the best? The first one was Alexander Soeters. The second one, Ismail Kaya. The third one, with the person with no profile picture. The fourth one, with the profile picture but no summary. Or the last one, with a profile picture with no summary, and but he has really good grades at university. Which one do you think I will choose from this 5? Raise your hands if this one, profile 1, the first one that we discussed.
Majority.
Yes, the majority. The second one is Malkaya. He has also a lot of information on his LinkedIn profile.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,
Yes.
8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
Okay. And for the other 3 ones, I will do them together. What do you think?
Like 0 votes.
Yes. So I hope that you see that the more information that you have on your LinkedIn profile, the better information I have as employer to get to know someone and to send them a message. Because if I don't know anything about that person, even if that person is really good at his work, I will not feel myself to contact that person, because I think, like, why didn't he tell me something about his work experiences? Because if you have a great career, it is very important to show that, because you are proud of that. So I hope that you get that point. I will share with you some tips and tricks to have a great LinkedIn profile in 5 steps that I will discuss with you. And in the meantime, if there are questions, just let me know and I will answer them.
There was a question earlier if we can receive the PDF of this PowerPoint so they can receive it after.
Yes, of course, like everything I will share with you. So all the tips and tricks, you don't have to make notes on that. I will share everything with you.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. So we were just talking about the first impressions. Like all of you guys did choose the same thing as me, like the first two profiles. So that's how important a first impression is. This is the profiles that we discussed. And now I will tell some tips and tricks. So how to make a great LinkedIn account in 5 steps. Create a strong headline. The headline is, what is your function? What do you do for your work? At which company you work for? Include a professional headshot. It is very important that you see a nice picture of someone with a smile, that you know what kind of person is that person behind that LinkedIn profile. Use a captivating background image because it looks much more interesting if you see a LinkedIn profile with a nice background image. Write a great profile summary, very important, because everyone is reading that. And the more information, the more content, the better. So if you are looking to the profile of Jemina, we see that she had a strong headline. We see that she's a PhD, that she has a PhD in tax law, and that she knows a lot of Caribbean tax law, and that she works for the University of Curaçao and Leiden University. We see a nice picture and a really interesting background image. So when you look at this profile, you think, okay, I want to get to know that person. I have this my LinkedIn profile. You also see like my headline. So I'm a director, a senior data consultant, and you see like all the tools that I work with, a picture, and I have not such a nice background image. I choose just a logo of the company I work for. But that's the reason, because I'm a director at that company and I want to show that I work for that company and I'm proud that I work for that company. But if you are not a director or something like that, just have a nice image that's much better. It looks much nicer. Okay, but what is a good profile picture? Because we all saw that if you don't have a profile picture, you don't even like to look at that profile at all. But a good profile picture is not a selfie. It has to be professional. And it is always from the chest up, and that you only see like your face. So not a full body image. That's not professional. And always look directly at the camera and always smile at the picture. And the picture has to be up to date. So if you are 40, you cannot put a picture on LinkedIn when you are 20. So it has to be in the last few years. And after this training, there will be also a photographer who will take nice professional pictures of you that you can put on your LinkedIn profile. So take that opportunity. What we also saw in the brief discussion about the LinkedIn profiles is a summary. That's also very important. But always add in the summary like contact details, like your email address that people can connect with you, a phone number, and tell something about your education, if you are working, where you are working, what you like in your work, and some expertise of skills that you have. That's very important. And what I already told you, fill in the content, the more content, the better. But it's also important that your LinkedIn profile is visible to everyone. So also for people who don't have a LinkedIn account, so that people can really easily find you. And I will teach you how to make your profile visible to everyone. So even if people are Googling you, they can see all the information that you put on LinkedIn. Always tell everything about your experiences, include all work experiences that you have. And in the work experiences, include the companies that you work for, and also the skills that you received in that work experience. Also tell the education that you had, which university you studied. If you have great grades, tell about them. It's very important. And also you can include which courses you followed. That tells also something about you. Always tell about the skills that you have. And you can also ask your connections to endorse you, so that they say, I know that that person is really great in Power BI or in communication or in teamwork or something else. If we have some accomplishments, also notice that on LinkedIn. Tell something about your endorsement and recommendations. You can always ask people that you work for or a customer that's very happy about you to write something about you on LinkedIn, but always tell that in a personal way. So don't send a message to LinkedIn, can you give me a recommendation? Always ask that person in a personal message, because the person really has to know you if they want to give you a recommendation. But I personally always look at the people's recommendations, because I think it says something about that person. Also, if you do volunteering work, be very proud of that and tell that on LinkedIn, because also that says something about how you are and what are your interests, what you like, and so on. If you have publications, so if you wrote some articles or people are mentioning you in some articles, please write it also on LinkedIn, because then people can read your articles and they get to know you. Okay, so I told you already about that's very important that you have your profile visibility on public. So everyone can find my profile and see my picture, anyone. They see always my name, the number of connections that I have, and the region where I live. And they see that even in every search result, they can find me. And you can choose for that, but I always recommend that everyone can find you, because when people only know your name and they want to connect with you, they can really easily find you. And in your settings, you can choose what you want to have visible, like only the background image or the headline or the details or experiences. But I choose to show everything, so that even if someone doesn't have LinkedIn, they still can read anything about you. And that's very important, because why you should not be proud of your working life, your career. And it's also important that, for example, if you work somewhere and you change your job, that always your former colleagues can also follow you. And everyone that you get to know in a professional way, they can connect with you and see what you're doing in life. So it's very important to have all the information online and that people can really easily find you. Also for potential employers, they always look for you on the internet, and the more easier it is, the more information you have, the better you will get job opportunities. And also in work life, if you have to interview some people, I personally always look at their LinkedIn profile to see what kind of person is that person, so that I have a great conversation with that person. And I know something about them, and I know how they look, I know where they studied, to see if I have something in common with them. Like when you tell something about your work experiences, it's also always important to mention the company that you work for. You can choose for that, and to say what kind of job that you did. So what was your function, and what were your tasks and responsibilities that you had during that work experiences? What did you learn? And what were your skill sets? Always mention them. In your education, it's also always important to mention everything what you studied. And when you have great grades, like cum laude or summa cum laude or whatever, just mention them, because people are looking for that, especially when it's your first job. If you have great grades, a potential employer think, oh, that person is nice to meet. For your skills, always mention the companies that you had that you learned the skill, and also ask people to endorse you by that skill. So that you see, like, for example, in this example, that Lee-chan thinks that person is good in interim management. And when you click on endorsement, like, for example, you see on social media 7, you see like 7 people, connections, tell that that person is good at social media. So you can always click them open and see all the endorsements that people give you. Accomplishments. So if you won something, some award, it is very important to show that off, because people think it's nice that someone has accomplished something. You are very proud of that. Please share that. And recommendations. So in this recommendation, you see that, for example, Mirna, she worked with me and she tells how she thinks it is to work with me and how I am as a personal how I am in a professional way, how she perceives me as a colleague. And people are reading that. I also read that always, how if someone has a recommendation, like, why is that person so great? Why is that person good at that skill? It's important to read about that. And also, I have received recommendations, but you also can give recommendations to people that you think are really good in your connections, because if you gave, you will also receive. So, and it's always important, like, for example, if you post something and you tag people, that you can get likes then. But also, if people mention you, always comment on them and like them also, because if you give, people will give you too. That's very important. That's actually the same as with Facebook. If you give many likes, people will give you also likes. If you don't give likes, people don't give you likes. It's the same in LinkedIn. If you have volunteering experiences, write about them. Write about what you did in that volunteering experiences and why you are doing that that volunteering work, and the companies that you are doing that volunteering work. And also, if you are united by a student association or a student association, you can also write about them in your volunteering work, because you did something next to your studies. And if you have publications or other people are writing articles about you, you can mention that on publications. And if you click then on show publications, you see directly that article, because it's nice for people that they can know what you like and where you're good at. If they read an article about you, they really get to know you. Okay, I will tell you some LinkedIn do's and don'ts. The do's on LinkedIn are the following. If you want to connect with someone, don't just add the connection button, but ask, like, why you want to connect with that person. Because you met someone at some conference, or someone is a student that you know that you want to connect, or it's a colleague, but always send, like, why you want to connect with that person. And if you don't know that person, you can always connect with the person, but tell them why you think their profile is interesting and you want to join them in your network. And if people add you and send you a personal connection message, always say, like, welcome to my network, thank you message, thank you that you have added me to your profile, to your network. Very important to do that. Just not only click to make more connections, because the connections that you have needs to have value. It's very important to have a professional picture. and to post content regularly. If you post like once or perhaps 2 times a week, people get to know you, and they see that you are active LinkedIn user, and the more active you are, the more people you will get to know, and the more people that will follow you. But it's very important to keep it professional, because sometimes I see on LinkedIn that people tell a lot about their personal life, but actually you are on LinkedIn to tell something about your professional life and not about your personal life. So this is not appropriate. Then you have other social media profiles to do that. And then the absolutely don'ts. You should really not spam. There are some people on LinkedIn who post like 5-6 times a day, and I really put that I don't want to follow them anymore, because my whole timeline just goes only about those connections. So if you spam too much, people will unfollow you. So I think it's more important to just post regularly, like once a week, perhaps 2 times a week if you are very interesting, if you have something interesting to tell, but not every day, and especially not a few times a day. It is very important also not to send irrelevant messages. If you want to share something, it should be really something that you are proud of, or something that you want to share, but that really has to add value, not some strange things. You should not criticize other people, because everything you put on the internet actually stays on the internet, and LinkedIn is a professional social media account, so you really have to keep it professional, and you don't want people to get to know you that you're a criticist or something like that. So please don't do that. Do not forget to check if people mention you in some post, and always like that post and comment on that post. That's very important. And do not send messages with, I see that you viewed my profile. Because on LinkedIn, you can see that someone saw you viewed your profile. And if you just send a message like, oh, I saw that you saw my profile, people think like, okay, you can better send like a picture, like a message, like, oh, I saw that that you checked my profile. I would like to connect with you, and some personal message with that. That's important. Are there any questions for me? You can ask everything that you want. So are there questions?
After this presentation, who's going to actually start a LinkedIn profile?
Okay.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15.
So a lot.
Yes.
Okay, great. Hopefully next year I will come to Curacao and tell you and to meet you in person, and to tell you more about how to make a profile and give you more tips and tricks. And we will do also a contest of the person who has the best profile, and the person with the best profile will win a great prize. I promise that.
I think as Europe Direct, we can put something on top of your price, right? To encourage them to actually make a very nice profile.
Yes.
Right, Germaine?
Yes, I think that's a really wonderful idea, Noel. So we can make a deal with the participants of today, that in a few months, so in some next year, that we will invite Noel to Curacao to give a more advanced course, where you can actually see each other's profile, and that you can vote on the nicest, the best profile, and that we then have a winner that can get a wonderful prize. And I agree with Stephen that Europe Direct will definitely contribute to that. Yes. So
Okay,
it's
how
a
many
deal
people
for every
will-
participant.
How many people will now make a profile for next year?
More, I hope.
A little bit more, not that much more. So we'll put another incentive on top.
Yes.
We'll put-
And for the people that need more help, I will be there and we will do like some workshops so that I will sit next to you and help you with a LinkedIn profile. And for the people who already has a LinkedIn profile, you can always connect with me by LinkedIn. And you will see my contact details because I will share with you these slides.
Any questions? Yes, one question. If you can repeat your name, please.
What was the question?
I'll answer a question.
I didn't hear.
No, she was wondering about your name, so they can add you.
Oh, my
So
name.
I
Okay.
said it to her.
My name is, yeah, we'll look at it. Noel Ezamouri, and you write it like, like this. This is the name, how you write it. So I would like to welcome you to my network on LinkedIn.
Great. Any more questions? She said you can ask anything, so.
Anything that you want.
To get an edge to winning next year.
Yes. You can also ask me questions through LinkedIn messages. So if you want to really to win next year, I will help you.
Hello. Okay, no more questions? Yeah, no more questions, good man.
Okay, if there's no more questions, then I would like to thank Noelle for her presentation. It's
You're
very very clear about the tricks and how to pimp up your LinkedIn profile. So I think this is a good start for next year's advanced course. And I look forward to that. So thank you, Noelle, for sharing your insights with us. And thank you to the participants for their questions. And also the participants in Aruba, because we have some participants in Aruba. I would like to thank them also for participating at this webinar, this workshop. And I hope that next year they will also be present, so that maybe Noelle can also travel to Aruba and to give the workshop there at the University of Aruba. So thank you for the students in Aruba. Thank you for participating. And I would like to invite the students at the campus of University of Curaçao to proceed to the next session, and that's the chance to that they can take a profile picture for LinkedIn for you, and Stephen will take it up from there for me, because I cannot do anything for you from here. But
Yes.
I hope you have a wonderful time with the workshop. And Stephen, I leave it up to you.